7. It is, we're coming up to 20 past 7.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
There are 3 watch and act warnings for fire in the state's northeast, about 30 kilometres west of Walwa, that isn't under control. The centre warning zone is a watch and act. There's a watch and act leave now warning. For Thalugalong, don't wait. Leaving now is the safest option. Conditions may change and get worse very quickly. So that's a watch and act leave now warning for Thalugalong. And to the east and west of that warning area, there are watch and act monitor conditions. They're warnings for Burrawee and parts of Thalugalong. Authorities say the situation can change at any time. You must monitor conditions and be ready to act. 7:49.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Now, there are 3 watch and act warnings for a fire that's in the state's northeast, about 30 kilometres west of Walwa, that isn't under control. The centre warning zone is a watch and act leave now warning. For Thalugalong, don't wait. Leaving now is the safest option. Conditions may change and get worse very quickly. So that is watch and act leave now for Thalugalong. To the east and west of that warning area, there are watch and act monitor conditions. Warnings for Burrawee and parts of Thalugalong. Authorities say the situation can change at any time. You must monitor conditions and be ready to act. So a reminder, watch and act leave now for Thalugalong. And to the east and west of that warning area, watch and act monitor conditions for Burrawee and parts of Thalugalong. It is 10 to 8 as we become aware of them. It is 7:13.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
There are 2 emergency warnings to leave immediately, with 2 watch and act warnings in adjoining areas. The combined warning areas cover in the north Thalugalong, Bunjil and Burrawee, east of Tallangatta, west of Kuriong, and in the south to Toowong. Okay, I'm going to go over that one more time for you. This is the leave immediately emergency warning with 2 watch and act warnings in adjoining areas. So the combined warning areas cover in the north Thalugalong, Bunjil, Burrawee, east of Tallangatta, west of Kuriong, and in the south to Toowong. Now, the Longwood fire in central Victoria, there are 3 emergency warnings to either take shelter now or leave immediately. For this fire, covering an area from the Hume Freeway between Avenel and Euroa in the north, past the Goulburn River in the south, west of Kerrisdale, then east past Yuck. The area has increased and is travelling from Longwood in an easterly direction towards Strathbogie State Forest and Merton, and is also expected to extend in a southeasterly direction towards Lake Eildon and south towards Yea. And there are 4 watch and act warnings to either stay near shelter, leave now, prepare to leave, or monitor conditions. Another fire has a watch and act warning at Wonnangatta in the Alpine National Park. So just repeating, the Walwa River Road fire in the northeast has 2 emergency warnings and 2 watch and acts, whilst the Longwood fire in central Victoria has 3 emergency warnings and 4 watch and act warnings. There is also a watch and act warning for a fire at Wonnangatta in the Alpine National Park. For more information, you can check the Vic Emergency website or app. There are impact area maps available on Vic Emergency's news page, Vic Traffic for road closures, and keep listening to your ABC local radio. For more information, we will keep you right up to speed across the day. It is 7:16. Let's head to the State Control Centre. David Nugent, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Lemo.
First of all, well, give us the very latest.
Yeah, no worries. I just overheard you giving out our warnings, which is terrific. Thank you. The 2 major fires that we've had focus on since yesterday, the fire at Longwood. So it was active overnight, but obviously as we head into the conditions today, we expect that fire to continue to burn. As I'm sure you've been letting people know, the Hume Freeway is still closed. So nearly 36,000 hectares, that fire now, and I just reflect on when I spoke to you yesterday morning, that fire was about 17,000 hectares, so it's doubled in size since yesterday. So it's a big fire and will continue to be a real challenge for us today. The fire up further up in the northeast, just to the northeast of Tallangatta there, the Mount Lawson fire, similarly, it continues to burn overnight, just under 17,000 hectares. So again, a big fire in forested country up there, which will take some time for us to contain and control. So that one continues to be a challenge as we head into these conditions again today.
Indeed. And have new fires popped up overnight?
Yeah, that's the other thing that just to make people aware of, which is, makes today even trickier for us in our communities and firefighters across the state. We've had people might have seen and heard forecasts of storms. We had those come through late yesterday. We had some bands of lightning and over 10,000 lightning strikes across the state.
Wow.
We've got the Bureau are able to tell us that. We know we've got about 30 new fires, a number in East Gippsland and a few others across the state. We will try to get to all of those fires as the day progresses now. We were able to get to some yesterday, but we know that we will have to prioritise our resources to try and get to many of those as we can. And unfortunately, we expect probably more today. There are more storms forecast today. Some of those lightning strikes from yesterday will probably pop up as the day heats up as well.
Yeah, these weather conditions are not helpful at all. Now, you asked campers to evacuate the catastrophic fire danger districts yesterday. The deadline was 7 o'clock this morning. Are you confident that they've all evacuated as requested?
Oh, Limo, as you say, we tried to get that message to people that it's just not a great place to be out in the bush today. Yeah. It's just, it's going to be dangerous. It'll be windy, hot. If we get fires, we won't be able to control them all the time. So, we've been out. We had rangers out yesterday in many of our parks and camping areas and forest areas to request people to move on. So hopefully people have listened to that. As you say, we're sort of saying we needed them to be gone by now. So if anybody's still listening to you and they're sitting out in the bush in their camp chair at the moment, please pack up your chair and head out. Get to somewhere safer than burn out in the bush anywhere. It's just not a good weekend to be camping out at the moment.
We're talking to David Nugent at the State Control Centre. We're getting text messages, David, about rain in some places around the state. Does that change anything?
Well, yeah, no, we've had some reports of that as well. I just, I was getting briefed this morning here. I heard from the team that places like Alexandra, they had significant rain overnight. I think what people are seeing is that they might be under one of those storm cells and, really localised rain events. Now, as the conditions warm up, the impact of those will disappear pretty quickly, and in some ways it's not helpful because, as I say, the lightning that we had move across the state, if we get a bit of rain with those, we can't see any fires, but as it warms up today, we'll potentially see some of those lightning strikes take hold and pop up with new fires. So yes, we have had a little bit of rain, but really doesn't have much of an impact, unfortunately.
Well, David Nugent at the State Control Centre, we appreciate your time and wish you and your team all the very best for today.
Thanks very much, Lima.
David Nugent there at the State Control Centre. Feel free to get in touch yourself. 1300 222 774 is our number, or send an SMS 0437 774 774. On the SMS, another shout out to all the country folks stranded in the city due to the cancelled V-Line trains. But right now, let's check the latest on the roads with Louis Zacker.
774 ABC Radio Melbourne.
Traffic.
G'day, Limo. Yep, unfortunately there is cancellations for V-Line services today. There is still V-Line services departing Southern Cross Station, but they will not proceed through to those catastrophic fire danger areas. Best bet, head to the V-Line website. There's a banner right up the top, the big orange one. Click on that and there's a full breakdown for all of the services across the state today for those who may wish to travel. But just echoing David Nugent's info there, avoid unnecessary travel. It's not the day to be on our roads or public transport unless you must travel. If you are travelling, make sure you check the Vic Traffic website before you head off on any journeys. Download the Vic Emergency app, and as always, keep it locked here on ABC for the latest in emergency information. There's changes to Metro trains and Yarra tram services too. Transport.vic.gov.au for that one. That is the latest traffic and transport at 7:21.
Hello, it's Lisa Leong. Join me for Sundays in 2026. I'm back this week.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Yes, Sandra Moon with you across the state, and we have got some changes to the emergency information, so I wanted to jump in and do this straight away for you at 11:05. So we still have those 2 emergency warnings to leave immediately for the Walwa River Road fire, with 2 watch and act warnings in adjoining areas. So the combined warning area covers in the north, Follogalong, Bungle, Burrawi, east of Talangata, west of Corryong, and in the south to Towong. The Longwood fire in central Victoria, there are 3 emergency warnings to either take shelter now or leave immediately. This is for the fire covering an area from the Hume Freeway between Avenel and Euroa in the north, past the Goulburn River in the south and west of Kerrisdale, then east past Yark. The area has increased and is travelling from Longwood in an easterly direction towards Bonnie Doon, and is also expected to extend in a southeasterly direction towards Lake Eildon and south towards Yea. The conditions remain dynamic. 4 watch and act warnings to either stay near shelter, leave now, prepare to leave, or monitor conditions. And we now have a Wonnangatta fire in the alpine forest. So there are 3 bushfires with a watch and act warning issued for Abissard, Wonnangatta, to monitor conditions in the Alpine National Park. 2 fires are burning near Van Dam's track, and 1 is burning near Selwyn track. And this is a new watch and act. This is for Gippsland, Bellbird Creek. A watch and act, monitor conditions as they are changing warning has also been issued for Bellbird Creek Club Terrace. A bushfire is travelling from Bellberg Creek, Whittingham's Access Road in a southerly direction and may impact the Princes Highway. So repeating, we've got the Walwa River Road fire in the northeast. It has 2 emergency warnings and 2 watch and act warnings, while the Longwood fire in central Victoria has 3 emergency warnings and 4 watch and act warnings. There's also a watch and act warning for 3 fires at Wonnangatta in the Alpine National Park. And for more information, and another been issued for Bellbird Creek as well. More information, as always, we point you in the direction of the Vic Emergency website or the app, and you can also head to the Vic Traffic app or page for road closures. Keep listening to ABC Local Radio, where we are just providing updates as we go. It is 11:07.
But now let's get a fire alert.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
And Kate Mead is with us through this afternoon. Kate, what's happening?
Thank you, Justin. There is an emergency warning. This is regarding the Natty Muck fire. To shelter indoors now, it has been issued for Arapalis, Grassflat, Natty Muck, Dutchamangara, Mitre and Turan. There is a grass fire travelling from Grassflat in a southeasterly direction towards Natty Muck that is not yet under control and is impacting Natty Muck Township. A wind change is expected in the next hour, which will cause the fire to change directions towards Victus and Kwantong. If you have not already left, the time to safely evacuate has now passed. Take shelter indoors immediately. It is now too dangerous to leave. To the east of the fire, the shelter indoors area, a new emergency warning, leave now message has been issued, and it extends towards Horsham. There is an area east of Natty Muck, Hamilton Road. In this area, you should leave immediately. This grass fire has impacted areas surrounding Natty Muck and has crossed Natty Muck, Hamilton Road at Durrigan, Pitt Road, and is travelling towards Kwantong and Lower Norton. A fire change is expected in the next hour, which will cause the fire to become more erratic and move in an easterly direction. Conditions can become very dangerous and unpredictable. It is important that you leave now and go to Horsham. A relief centre has been opened at the Horsham Citizen Centre at 17 Roberts Avenue, Horsham. Pets must be contained or on a lead. Kwantong, Lower Norton and northern areas of Narrajawara could be impacted any time up to this hour. Leaving immediately is your safest option before conditions become too dangerous. Now the Longwood fire, In central Victoria, there are 5 emergency warnings to either take shelter now or leave immediately. For this fire, covering an area from the Hume Freeway between Avenel and Euroa in the north, past the Goulburn River in the south, past Mount Stewart in the west, and past Bonnie Doon and past Eldon in the east. The area has increased and is travelling from Longwood in an easterly direction towards Bonnie Doon, Strathbogie State Forest and Merton. The fire is also travelling in a southeasterly direction toward Eldon. The conditions are dynamic and the fire could impact Whiteheads Creek, Avenel, Loxley, Crichton, Strathbogie, Traralgaluk, Bonnie Doon, Lake Eldon, Thornton, Limestone, Yea, Alexandra and surrounds between now and 11 p.m. tonight. The latest emergency warning, there are 5 take shelter warning messages that are current. They are for Carlton, Cathkin, Cravat, Gingin, Highlands, Currambara, Killingworth, Corallia, Molesworth, Warrenjeruwan, and Yuck, Anakarana, Fawcett, Garum, Merton, Strathbogie South and Woodfield. There are also emergency warnings to take shelter in Cravat, Crichtons Creek, Dropmore, Gabor, Gurrum, Highlands, Curranbara, Kelvin View, Loxley, Longwood, Longwood East, Ruffy, Strathbogie, Tarcombe, Trip and Upton Hill, Alexandra, Devils Creek, Fawcett, Lake Eldon and Maraganoon. There are also take shelter warnings in Devils River, Elton, Taylor Bay and Thornton. You are in danger and need to act immediately to survive. The safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. It is too late to leave. You are in danger and need to act immediately to survive. The safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. It is too late to leave. A wind change is expected around 8 p.m. tonight, that is Friday the 9th of January. This will cause the fire to change direction to the northeast, heading back towards Strathbogie. Conditions will become very dangerous and unpredictable. Please do not use main waters in Alexandra until absolutely it is necessary, as water pressure is impacting firefighting efforts. Now, there are relief centres that have been opened. They are at the Seymour Sports and Aquatic Centre, Benalla Town Hall, the Lilydale High School, and for caravans and trailers, the Lilydale Recreation Reserve Showgrounds and that are in Market Street, Lilydale. The Cobram Fire. There is an emergency warning to leave immediately. It is a warning that is now in place for people in Katamite, Katunga, Makatar, Narring, Yarrawaya South. This grass fire is travelling in a southeasterly direction from the Murray Valley Highway towards Makatar. People in those identified areas should leave immediately. Leaving immediately is your safest option before conditions become too dangerous. The Stratham Fire. This emergency message is to evacuate immediately from Caramballoch, Skipton, Stratham, Westmere, Vite North. It is strongly recommended that you evacuate immediately. There is a grass fire on Yalala Waipora Road, Stratham, that is not yet under control. The grass fire is travelling from Garrambiak Recreation Reserve in a westerly direction towards Skipton. The fire is expected to impact Skipton at 4:30 p.m. If you are located in this area, Skipton, Vite North, it is strongly recommended that you evacuate immediately and move to a safer location away from the fire. Walwa River Road Fire. There are 4 emergency warnings to leave immediately, with 1 watch and act. It is a warning for adjoining areas. The combined warning areas cover the north, Thulongagong, Bungil and Barawi, east of Talangata, west of Kuriwong, and in the east, the south of Toowong. An emergency warning is to take shelter. It has now been issued by the Darshire, Kutong and Shelley. There is a bushfire at 27 kilometres west of Walwa that is not yet under control. This fire is travelling from Mount Lawson State Park in a southerly direction towards Derbyshire Fire, Kutong and Shelley. The fire is expected to impact the location imminently. This fire is threatening homes and lives. It is too late to leave the area safely. You must do so now to take shelter. You are in danger. There is a need to act immediately to survive. The safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. It is too late to leave. Now, there are more updates coming through. There's one now also, Justin, for the Big Desert Fire. This is a watch and act, monitor conditions, and they are being issued for the Big Desert, Boinka, Linga and Underbull. There is a bushfire 10k south of Boinka and it is not yet under control. The bushfire is travelling in a southeasterly direction into the Whipperfield National Park. A wind change is expected today. Justin, we're going to get more information as this comes through. It's updating in front of me as I'm reading this at the moment. So I will come back to you within the next 20 minutes with a further update.
Kate, thank you very much. Kate Mead will be with us right throughout the afternoon. It's 23 past 3, 1300 222 77. Chris Miller from Transport Victoria. It's 8 to 4. Let's get an update on the fires.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Here's the latest information. Kate Mead has it for us this afternoon. Kate.
A new watch and act, stay near shelter. There is a grass fire north of Nathalia that is not yet under control. This grass fire is travelling in a southeasterly direction from Horners Road towards Nathalia. Now, for the Longwood fire, there are several warnings in place for the fire which has burned south of the Hume High Freeway in the direction of Alexandra and Yea. There is a emergency warning to take shelter now. These messages are in place for an area extending from the Hume Freeway at Longwood, east Bonnie Doon, south to Alexandra and west to Homewood and Loxley. To the south of that area, an emergency warning, leave immediately message is in place for the extended area from Yea to Eildon, including Archeron. Leaving immediately is the safest option before conditions become too dangerous. Emergency services may not be able to help you if you decide to stay. Residents must leave via the Tangjetty Thornton Road and down to the Maroondah Highway or using Goulburn Valley Highway towards Seymour, Melba Highway or Maroondah Highway towards Lilydale. There are emergency relief centres that are open at the Seymour Sport and Aquatic Centre, at the Benalla Town Hall, the Lilydale High School, and for caravans and trailers at the Lilydale Recreation Reserve and Showgrounds and Market Street, Lilydale. Now, for the Skipton fire, an emergency warning, an evacuate immediately message is in place for the fire at Stratham. This grass fire is travelling from Carinballoch Recreation Reserve and it is going in an easterly direction towards Skipton. If you are in Carinballoch, Skipton or Vite North, it is strongly recommended that you evacuate immediately and move to a safer location away from the fire. The fire is expected to impact Skipton at 4:30 p.m. A relief centre is open at the Beaufort Community Bank Complex. That's at 39 Park Road, Beaufort. Now, Natimuck, there are multiple warnings in place for a fire which has burned through Natimuck towards Horsham. There is an emergency warning to leave immediately. It's in place for the area east of Natimuck to Horsham. This grass fire has impacted areas surrounded Natimuck and crossed the Natimuck-Hamilton Road near Darragon Pit Road and is travelling towards Quantong to the Noah and Lower Norton. Quantong, Lower North, Lower Norton and northern areas could be impacted any time in this next hour. Leaving immediately is your safest option before conditions become too dangerous. This grass fire has impacted areas surrounded Natimuck and has crossed Natimuck Hamilton Road at Darragon Pit Road and is travelling towards Quantong and Lower Norton. The Emergency Relief Centre has moved to the Horsham Town Hall. Now, Avalon, this has dropped to an advice warning. It is no longer a threat to the community. North of Castlemaine, there is an emergency water warning to shelter indoors now. This message is to include areas extending from Ravenswood south to Barker's Creek. This grass fire is travelling from Fogarty's Gap Road in a southerly direction toward the Midland Highway. Do not get in the car and drive. It is safe to stay where you are. Now for Cobram, in the north of the state, there's an emergency warning. Leave immediately is the message, extending from the Murray Valley Highway to the area south of Makatar. There is a grass fire travelling from the Murray Valley Highway in a southeasterly direction, and it is not yet under control. People south of Makatar should travel towards Cartamite or Shepparton. Walwa. Now, this is in the northeast of the state. There are multiple emergency warnings in place extending from Bungle to Corrowong. In this area, including Corrowong, you must evacuate immediately. Residents should leave east towards New South Wales via the river crossing at Tindoola, Toorong and Bringjengra. I apologise if I have mispronounced any of these names. I'm doing my utmost best for you today. There are watch and act warnings across the Big Desert, including Nathalia, Patchwallach, Mount Mercer and Wangaratta. My apologies. You can find the full list of warnings and information in your area via the Vic Emergency app or website. Keep listening to your local ABC radio station. We'll have another update for you on all the warnings in the next half hour. Justin, I'll say again, thank you to everyone for their patience while we get through these towns right across the state at the moment.
Don't worry. Don't apologise. You're doing a great job, Kate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin.
Kate Mead, it's 3 to 4. Wendy is... Craig, 1300 222 774. So if there's something you can see, if you have something you think we need to know, 1300 222 774. Let's get the latest on the fires.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
And Kate Mead is with us this afternoon. Kate, what's the latest?
This is the first update that I have for the Longwood fire. There are several warnings in place for the fire that has burned south from the Hume Freeway in the direction of Alexandra and Yea. There are emergency warnings to take shelter now messages that are in place for the area extending from the Hume Freeway at Longwood, east to Bonnie Doon, south to Eldon and also Yea, west of Yea and Whiteheads Creek. This is a large area. The safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. It is too late to leave. A wind change is expected around 8 p.m. tonight. This will cause the fire to change direction to the northeast, heading back towards Strathbogie. Conditions will become very dangerous and unpredictable. Now, there are emergency relief centres that have been opened at the Seymour Sport and Aquatic Centre, the Benalla Town Hall, Lilydale High School, and for caravans and trailers, the Lilydale Recreation Reserve and Showgrounds in Market Street, Lilydale are open to you. Now for Meredith and Bannockburn, there is a bushfire at Shelford, Mount Martha Road, Mount Mercer that is not yet under control. The bushfire is travelling from Mount Mercer Road in a southeasterly direction towards Lethbridge. In Bangani, you must take shelter now. You are in danger and need to act immediately to survive. For the Skipton fire, an emergency warning is in place to shelter indoors from Stratham to Petong, including Skipton. The grass fire is travelling along from Caranballoch in an easterly direction towards Mallinbarra. It is too late to leave. The safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. For Nadamuck, there are multiple warnings in place for a fire that has burned through Nadamuck towards Horsham. There is an emergency warning to leave immediately. That is the message that is in place for the area east of Nadamuck to Horsham. This grass fire has impacted areas surrounding Nadamuck and has crossed Nadamuck Hamilton Road at Darrigan Pit Road and is travelling towards Quantong and Lower Norton. Quantong, Lower Norton and Northern Eastern in the Nadujara could be impacted any time into this next hour. Leaving immediately is your safest option before conditions become too dangerous. This grass fire has impacted surrounding Nadamuck and has crossed Nadamuck Hamilton Road at Darrigan Pit Road and is travelling towards Quantong and Lower Norton. An emergency relief centre has moved to the Horsham Town Hall. Now, for north of Castlemaine, there are two emergencies that are in place for Ravenswood and Harcourt. West of the Calder Freeway, you must shelter indoors now. The grass fire is travelling from Fogarty's Gap Road in a southerly direction towards Midland Highway. Do not get in the car and drive. It is safer to stay where you are. To the east, including Harcourt, you must leave immediately. Harcourt and Harcourt North could be impacted any time up until 4 p.m. Leaving immediately is your safest option before conditions become too dangerous. Harcourt and Harcourt North could be impacted any time before 4 o'clock. Leaving immediately is your safest option before conditions become too dangerous. Now for Cobram. In the north of the state, there's an emergency warning to leave immediately. Now, this is extending from the Murray Valley Highway to the south area of Makatar. There is a grass fire travelling from the Murray Valley Highway in a south-easterly directions towards Makatar that is not yet under control. People south of Makatar should travel towards Katamite or towards Shepparton. For the Walwa fire, in the northeast of the state, there are multiple emergency warnings that are in place extending from Bungrel to Coorong. In this area, you must evacuate immediately. Residents should leave towards New South Wales via the river crossings in Taldonara, Coorong and Beganurong. Watch and act warnings. There are watch and act warnings in place for the Big Desert, including Nathalia, Patchurlock and Wangaratta, my apologies. You can find the full list of warnings and information in your area via the Vic Emergency app or website. Keep listening to your ABC local radio station and we'll have another update for you, Justin, with all those warnings in the next half hour.
Kate Mead, thank you very much. We've got some news coming up before. If there's something you see, if there's something you think we need to know, if you've got a question, 1300 222 774. Let's get the latest fire information.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
And Kate Mead has the latest. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Justin. I'll start with the Longwood fire. There are several warnings in place for the fire, which has burned south from the Hume Freeway in the direction of Alexandra and Yea. There are emergency warnings to now take shelter. These messages are in place for the area extending from the Hume Freeway at Loxley, east to Bonnie Doon, south of Eildon and west to Yea, including Strathbowie, Yuck, and also Alexandra. This is a large area. The safest option is for you to take shelter indoors immediately. It is too late to leave. A wind change is expected around 8 p.m. tonight. This will cause the fire to change direction to the northeast, heading towards Strathbogie. Conditions will become very dangerous and unpredictable. Emergency relief centres are open at the Seymour Sports and Aquatic Centre, Benalla Town Hall, Lilydale High School, and for caravan and trailers, you can go to the Lilydale Rec Reserve and Showground. And Kerrysdale, you should leave immediately. Watch and act warnings that surrounding area are in this emergency warning area, including Euroa as well as north of Kinglake and Marysville. For Meredith and Bannockburn, there is an emergency warning to take shelter now in Bigambi. This is a bushfire that is travelling from Mount Mercer Road in a southeasterly direction towards Lethbridge. There is a bushfire at Shelford, Mount Mercer Road, Mount Mercer, that is not yet under control. For those in the Skipton area, an emergency warning is in place to shelter indoors. This is from Stratham to Pitong, including Skipton. The grass fire is travelling along Caranballock in an easterly direction towards Malin-Bandara. It is too late to leave. The safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. For Natimuck, there are multiple warnings in place for this fire, which has burned through Natimuck towards Horsham. There is an emergency warning to leave immediately. This message is in place for the area east of Natimuck to Horsham. This grass fire has impacted areas surrounding Natimuck and has crossed Natimuck Hamilton Road at Darrigan Pit Road, and it's travelling towards Quotong and Lower Norton. Quotong, Lower Norton and northern areas could be impacted in this next hour. Leaving immediately is your safest option before conditions become too dangerous. This grass fire has impacted areas surrounding Natimuck and has crossed the Natimuck Hamilton Road at Darrigan Pit Road and is travelling towards Quotong and Lower Norton. The Emergency Relief Centre has moved to the Horsham Town Hall. Now, for north of Castlemaine, there are 2 emergency warnings at Ravenswood and Harcourt. From Ravenswood North to Mount Alexandra, including Harcourt, you must shelter indoors now. The grass fire is travelling from Fogarty Gap Road, Ravenswood South in a southeasterly direction and has now crossed the Calder Freeway. It is expected a wind change will be there and will push the fire in an easterly direction within the next 1 to 2 hours. For those that are in Cobram, they're in the north of the state, there is an emergency warning. It is to leave immediately, and it's extending from the Murray Valley Highway to an area south of Muckatar. This is a grass fire that is travelling from the Murray Valley Highway in a southeasterly direction towards Muckatar and is not yet under control. People south of Muckatar should travel towards Catamite or towards Shepparton. A relief centre has been opened at Apex Park. This is in Cobram. For Walluwa, this is in the northeast of the state, and I apologise again, that's Walwa. This is in the northeast of the state. There are multiple emergency warnings in place extending from Bungil to Kurralong. This area is, if you are in this area, you must evacuate immediately. Residents should leave east towards New South Wales via the river crossing in Tintalara, Toowong and Brigangabburong. If you are located in Tallangarata Valley or Billawa, it is recommended you evacuate immediately and move to a safer location. Go towards Wodonga on the Murray Valley Highway. There are relief centres at the Tallangarata Memorial Hall or the Wodonga Racecourse. Watch and act warnings. There are watch and act warnings in place for the Big Desert, including Patchawalock, also watch and act warnings in Wannagaratta and also Nathalia. You can keep a full list of warnings. You can check them all out by visiting the Vic Emergency app or the website. Keep listening to your local ABC radio station, and we will have another update for you within the next half hour.
Kate, thank you very much. Kate Mead with the updates. It's 5 to 4, but let's get the latest on the fires.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Kate Mead's got the information for us this afternoon. Kate?
Thank you, Justin. The first update I have is for Longwood. There are several warnings in place for a fire which has burned along south from the Hume Freeway at Longwood in the direction of Alexandra and Yea. There are emergency warnings to take shelter now messages. They are in place for an area extending from the Hume Freeway at Loxley, east to Bonnie Doon, south to Eildon and west to Yea, including Strathbogie, Yuck and Alexandra. I'll slow down a little bit for you there, Justin.
No, you're
In this large area, the safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. It is too late to leave. A wind change is expected around 8 p.m. tonight. This will cause the fire to change direction to the northeast, heading back towards Strathbogie. Now, conditions will become very dangerous and unpredictable. In Kerrysdale and the area including Rubicon, Boxton and Flowerdale, you should leave immediately. This is a new emergency warning to leave immediately around Marysvale, and that is stretching west towards Narrathong and also east of Carabbaville. Watch and act warnings surround the emergency warning area, including Euroa and also the area north of Kinglake and Marysville. There are emergency relief centres and they are open at Seymour Sports and Aquatic Centre, Benalla Town Hall, Lilydale High School and also the Whittlesea Civic Centre. Now for Meredith and Bannockburn, this is an emergency warning to take shelter now at Begani. This is a bushfire that is travelling from Mount Mercer Road in a southeasterly direction towards Lethbridge. There is a bushfire at Shelford, Mount Mercer Road, Mount Mercer, that is not yet under control. For those in Skipton, an emergency warning is in place to shelter indoors. This is in place from Stratham through to Pitong, including Skipton. The grass fire is travelling along Caranballoch in an easterly direction towards Manning Badara. It is too late to leave. The safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. For those in Natimuck, there are multiple warnings in place for the fire which has burned through Natimuck towards Horsham. It is a leave immediate message, and that is in place for the area east of Natimuck to Horsham. This is a grass fire that has impacted areas around and surrounding Natimuck and has crossed Natimuck Hamilton Road at Darrigan Pit Road and is travelling towards Quitong and Lower Norton. Quitong, Lower Norton and northern areas could be impacted any time in this next hour. Leaving immediately is your safest option before conditions become too dangerous. This is a grass fire that has impacted areas surrounding Natimuck and has crossed that Natimuck Hamilton Road at Darrigan Pit Road and is travelling towards Quitong and Lower Norton. The Emergency Relief Centre has moved to the Horsham Town Hall. Now, for the fire that is north of Castlemaine, there are 2 emergency warnings for Ravenswood and also for Harcourt. From Ravenwood South to Mount Alexandra, including Harcourt, you must shelter indoors now. This is a grass fire that is travelling from Fogarty Gap Road, Ravenswood, south in a southeasterly direction and has now crossed the Calder Freeway. There is an expected wind change that will push the fire in an easterly direction within the next 1 to 2 hours. For those that are in the Cobram area, this is in the north of the state. This is an emergency warning to leave immediately. This is extending from the Murray Valley Highway to an area south of Muckatar. There is a grass fire that is travelling from the Murray Valley Highway in a southeasterly direction towards Muckatar that is not yet under control. People south of Muckatar should travel towards Catamatite or also to Shepparton. There is a relief centre that has been open at Apex Park on Campbell Road, Cobram. Now, Walluwa This is a fire that is in the northeast of the state, and there are emergency warnings that are in place extending from Baringal to Corriwong. This is an area including Corriwong, and you must evacuate immediately. Residents should leave east towards the New South Wales River crossing. If you are located in Tallangatta Valley or Billawa, it is recommended that you evacuate immediately and move to a safer location away from the fire. Go to the Tangattara or Wodonga and on the Murray, that is located on the Murray Valley Highway. There are relief centres at the Memorial Hall or also at the Wodonga Racecourse. Now, this is for the Wangaratta area fire. Now, don't be confused with Wangaratta. We've had some confusion there. This is not Wangaratta, Wangaratta. Okay, this is in the Alpine National Park, and it is an emergency warning that has been issued, and it is to leave immediately. This fire is travelling in a westerly direction towards Wangaratta station and will impact this station in the next hour. If you're in this area towards Mount Selwyn or the surrounds, leaving immediately is your safest option. This is before conditions become too dangerous. Emergency services may not be able to help you if you decide to leave. Again, that is not Wangaratta. Watch and act warnings. There is a watch and act warning in place for the Big Desert, including Patchawalock, including also Nathalia. There are also watch and act messages to monitor conditions in areas on the north, east and south of Nadimuck in that fire emergency warning area, including Pimpino and also Horsham. If you would like, you can find the full list of warnings information in your area via the Vic Emergency app or on their website, or you can keep listening to ABC and your local radio station. We will have another information, another update for you within the next half hour.
Kate, thank you very much, Kate Mead. It's 26 past 5. Weather's starting to really drop in Melbourne, but let's get the latest from the CFA. David Nugent is from the State Control Centre. David, thank you for hanging on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good afternoon, Justin. No problem.
What are the most critical areas we need to know about right now?
Yeah, Justin, it's a pretty difficult.
It's 4 to 10 now. ABC Radio, emergency information. All right, before we get to news, let's take a look at this quickly. 2 major fires burning with emergency warnings across Victoria and several watch and acts. The Northeast Fire Complex, so around Wawa and Corrion, there are multiple emergency warnings in place, which is now travelling for this fire in a southeasterly direction. An emergency warning take shelter now message is in place for the fire extending from Mount Wilson to Corrion and Pimpaldra. North of the fire in the Wawa area, you should leave immediately via New South Wales. To the south of the fire, around the Tallangatta Valley and Mitta, you must leave immediately. There is a relief centre available at the Wodonga Racecourse, which allows pets. Now to Longwood, the Longwood fire, which has burned from the Hume Freeway to Alexandra, multiple emergency and watch and act warnings are in place. A wind change is pushing the fire in an easterly direction. It's too late to leave an area extending from the Hume Freeway to Taggart and Rubicon, in an area including Alexandra, Eildon, Molesworth, Yea and north to Strathbogie. To the north in Euroa and west to Terracedale, you should leave immediately. Watch and act warnings surround the emergency warning areas. Emergency relief centres are open at the Seymour Sports and Aquatic Centre on Pollard Street in Seymour and at Benalla Town Hall on Nunn Street. Now we've got quite a few watch and act warnings across the state. So through the Warningata Valley to Dargo and Cabana. You should monitor conditions. The Vansdale-Dargo Road is closed at Burleys Road. For the fire at Harcourt, you should watch and act. The spread of the fire has slowed and is travelling in a more easterly direction. It is not safe to return. The fire has crossed the Calder Highway, impacted Harcourt, and has impacted Mount Alexander and areas to the east. From Streatham to Skipton, it is not safe to return. There are 3 watch and act warnings in Great Otway National Park from Black Spruce Road to Gellibrand River Road. You should monitor conditions. In West Nadimuck and Quanton, you must stay in shelter. In the Big Desert, a Watch and Act remains in place for the area south of Underboard. So of course you can find a full list of all of that, plus the maps, which are really, really handy on a Vic Emergency app, or you can just go to the Vic Emergency website. Keep listening to ABC Radio. Of course, we'll give you more updates as they do come to hand. The next one will be at about 10:15. Just a minute away from 10 o'clock now, so the latest news is coming up there. As I mentioned, after that, we will head more into central Victoria, find out what the situation
until 12 o'clock today. Later this hour, we are going to be checking in with power suppliers AusNet and Powercore to see where the outages are across the state as well. But let's get an update now on the emergency warnings in force right now with Peter Quattricelli.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Thanks, Lisa. There are several major fires burning with emergency warnings across Victoria and several with watch and acts. The total fire ban covering the entire state of Victoria has also been extended until midnight Monday. Multiple emergency warnings are in place for fires burning in the Cape Otway region south of Colac. The emergency warnings extend from Kennedy's Creek to Tomahawk Creek. There's an emergency warning to take shelter now for Carlisle River. The fire is out of control and travelling northeasterly towards Carlisle River and Escarpment Road. Leave immediately extending to Jallarbrand and Carwarren. The fire has crossed White Peg Road and Blackbridge Road. You should leave using Colac Lavers Hill Road and head towards Colac. Leave immediately for Barungarook, Barungarook West, Irrawillipie East and Carwarren. Multiple emergency warnings are in place for the northeast Victoria fire, which is now moving slowly in a northeasterly direction. Emergency warning, take shelter now messages are in place for the fire extending from Mount Lawson to Corryong and Tintaldra. North of the fire in the Walwa area, you should leave immediately via New South Wales. To the south of the fire, around the Talangata Valley and Mitta, leave immediately. For the fire that was originally known as Longwood Fire, which has burned from the Hume Freeway to south of Alexandra, multiple emergency and watch and act warnings are in place. Weather conditions have slowed the spread of fire for now, but strong southwesterly winds may cause the situation to change at any time. Take shelter now for towns from Avenel in the northwest to Longwood and Kithbrook, to Howes Creek and Goffs Bay, south to Eildon, Thornton and Acheron, up to Limestone and Yea, Whiteheads Creek, back to Avenel and everywhere in between. Areas to the southwest of the emergency fires are under watch and act warnings. Monitor conditions as they are changing. Across the state, multiple watch and act warnings are in place for out-of-control fires, including through the Wonnangata Valley to Dargo and Cobbiner. You should monitor conditions. The Bairnsdale-Dargo Road is closed at Beverleys Road. Further east of Dargo, along the Wentworth River, you should prepare to leave. A community meeting will be held at the Dargo Public Hall and Recreation Reserve at 11 a.m. For the Otways fires, Irrawillipie East, Tomahawk Creek and Kennedy's Creek, there's a watch and act, monitor conditions as they are changing. A watch and act bushfire at Cape Otway, Glen Eyre and for parts of the Otway National Park. It is not safe to return. The Great Ocean Walk has been closed to ensure public safety and the Great Ocean Road has now reopened, but with speed restrictions. For the fire at Harcourt, watch and act, monitor conditions. It is not safe to return. The fire crossed Calder Highway, impacted Harcourt and has impacted Mount Alexander and areas to the east. For the Longwood fires, watch and act, monitor conditions. They are changing for Crichton, Crichton's Creek, Euroa, Kithbrook, Loxley, Longwood, Longwood East, Pranjip, Sheens Creek, as well as watch and act, monitor conditions for Clonbinane, Dairy Creek, Flowerdale, Granite, Homewood, Kerrysdale, Strath Creek, Tallarook, Tarcombe, Trawool, Whiteheads Creek and Yea. For Caranbalack, Streatham and rural Skipton, watch and act remains in place. It is not safe to return. However, it is safe to return for residents who evacuated from Skipton Township. Return via Skipton Road. you may be asked to show proof of address at the traffic management point. In the west, for Nadimak and Kwantong, you must stay near shelter. And in the Big Desert, 2 Wachanaks, threat is reduced, remains in place, south of Underbull. You can find a full list of warnings, information in your area via the Vic Emergency app or website. Keep listening to ABC Radio. We'll have another full update on all the warnings in half an hour.
Thanks so much, Peter. That's Peter Quattricelli, who's producing.
Let's just check in at 18 past 10 with an update on all of the emergency information.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
All right, there are 2 major fires burning with emergency warnings across Victoria and several with watch and acts. In fact, there's a new watch and act this morning for a grass fire at Mount Road in Anarchy. The grass fire is travelling in a northeasterly direction from Mount Road towards Ballyang. Staying close to a building where you can shelter is the safest option, as of course conditions can change suddenly. Let's take a look at the Northeast Fire Complex around Walwa and Corryong. So multiple emergency warnings are in place for this Northeast Victoria fire, which is now travelling in a southeasterly direction. Emergency warning, take shelter now messages are in place for the fire extending from Mount Lawson to Corryong and Tintooldra. North of the fire in the Walwa area, you should leave immediately via New South Wales. To the south of the fire, around the Tallangatta Valley and Mitta, you must leave immediately. There is a relief centre available at the Wodonga Racecourse, and it does allow pets. On to Longwood in Central Vic for the Longwood fire, which has burned from the Hume Freeway to Alexandra. Multiple emergency watch and act warnings are in place. A wind change is pushing the fire in an easterly direction. It's too late to leave an area extending from the Hume Freeway to Taggart and Rubicon. In the area including Alexandra, Eildon, Molesworth, Yea and north to Strathbogie. To the north in Euroa and west in Kerrisdale, you should leave immediately. Watch and act warnings surround the emergency warning areas. And emergency relief centres are open at Seymour Sports and Aquatic Centre and at the Benalla Town Hall. Now, there are quite a few watch and act warnings across the state in place for out-of-control fires, including through the Wonnangatta Valley to Dargo and Kobana. You should monitor conditions. The Bairnsdale-Dargo Road is closed at Beverleys Road. For the fire at Harcourt, you should watch and act. The spread of the fire has slowed and is travelling in a northeasterly direction. It's not safe to return though, and the fire has crossed the Calder Highway, impacted Harcourt and has impacted Mount Alexander and areas to the east. From Streatham to Skipton, it is not safe to return. There are also 3 watch and act warnings in the Great Otway National Park from Black Bridge Road to Gellibrand River Road, so you must monitor conditions. And in the west for Nadimak and Kwantong, you must stay near shelter. In the Big Desert, a watch and act remains in place for the area south of Underbull. So, of course, as always, we point you in the direction of the Vic Emergency app or jump onto the website. It might make things easier for you. I don't know about you. It helps for me to be able to actually get a visual and to be able to, see some of those maps. So that's where the Vic Emergency app can help. Of course, keep listening to ABC Radio and we will give you full updates. We'll have another update at around 11:15, perhaps this morning. It's 21 past 10 now.
Now, this emergency warning is being issued for Cape Otway, Mates Rest. There is a bushfire at Cape Otway that is not yet under control. The bushfire is travelling from Sandy Ridge Track in a southeasterly direction. The fire started near Great Ocean Road in Cape Otway. Great Ocean Road could be impacted any time within the next hour. Mates Rest visitors area will also be closed. Leaving immediately is the safest option before conditions become too dangerous. Emergency services may not be able to help help you if you decide to stay. So that's the latest information there for you in regard to this new emergency warning issued for Cape Otway, Mates Rest, and I suppose as well, sort of particularly for areas or for people who may be in the area that are not from the area. It's such a huge tourist spot, so I imagine some really important information for you. It is 22 to 12, and you'll have a more comprehensive look at everything that's going on fire-wise before midday when we do check in with the State Control Centre, so that's not too far away.
On the ABC Listen.
As we continue this coverage of the fires across our state. 1300 222 774 is our number, or you can text in on 0437 774 774.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
There are several major fires burning with emergency warnings across Victoria and several with watch and axe. For the Otway fires, multiple emergency warnings are in place for several fires burning in the Cape Otway region south of Colac. The emergency warnings extend from Kennedy's Creek to Tomahawk Creek. There's an emergency warning to take shelter now for Carlisle River. The fire is out of control and is travelling from Trotters Lane, Carlisle River, in a northeasterly direction towards Carlisle River and Escarpment Road. Leave immediately, extending to Gellibrand and Ferguson. The Great Ocean Road is closed between Apollo Bay and Lavers Hill. Smoke from this fire is burning across towards Melbourne. There's an emergency relief centre that's been set up at the Colac Otway Performing Arts Centre, which is at 95 Gellibrand Street, for anyone displaced by the Otway fires. And if you have any large animals with you, you can attend the Colac Showgrounds on Connor Street. The North East Fire Complex, Walwa and Corryong, multiple emergency warnings are in place for the North East Victoria fire, which is now travelling in a southeasterly direction. The emergency warning is to take shelter now, extending from Mount Lawson to Corryong and Tintoldra. North of the fire in the Walwa area, you should leave immediately via New South Wales. To the south of the fire, around the Tallangatta Valley and Mitta, you must leave immediately. Corryong Evacuation Centre has been closed and Corryong Hospital has also been closed. There's a relief centre available at the Wodonga Racecourse, which allows pets. For the Longwood fire, or Longwood East fire, which has burned from the Hume Freeway to Alexandra, multiple emergency and watch and act warnings are in place. It is too late to leave an area extending from the Hume Freeway to Taggart and Rubicon in an area including Alexandra, Eildon, Molesworth, Yea and north to Strathbogie. Watch and act warnings are in place for Kerrisdale, Flowerdale, Taggart and Bonnie Doon surrounding the emergency warning areas. There are watch and act warnings across the state. There are multiple watch and act warnings in place for out-of-control fires, and these include through the Warnangatta Valley to Dargo and Cabana. You should monitor conditions. The Bairnsdale-Dargo Road is closed at Beverleys Road. Further east of Dargo, along the Wentworth River, you should prepare to leave. For the Otway's fires for Cape Otway and Glenayre, it's not safe to return. For the fire at Harcourt, you should watch and act. The spread of the fire has slowed and is travelling in a northeasterly direction. It is not safe to return. The fire crossed the Calder Highway, impacted Harcourt and has impacted Mount Alexander and areas to the east. There's a watch and act, monitor conditions message for Bamgani and Meredith. From Streatham to Skipton, it is not safe to return. In the west, for Nadimuck and Quantong, you must stay near shelter. And in the Big Desert, a watch and act remains in place for the area south of Underball. And of course, you can find a full list of warnings and information for your own area via the Vic Emergency app or website. And please keep listening to ABC Radio. We'll have another full update for you in about half an hour. And thank you so much for your text messages as
much so that we ended up
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Good morning, Gabe Haddison bringing you an update on the bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges. A number of warnings have been issued by Forest Fire Management Victoria. There's an emergency warning issued for Carlisle River, take shelter now. If you've not left, the safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. The bushfire is travelling from the west of Gellibrand in an easterly direction towards Gellibrand. With the latest on where it's at, because we do have 1 emergency and 5 watch and acts for that particular fire now, we have with us Regan Key. She's the State Control spokesperson. Regan, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Gay. Thanks for having me.
What can you tell us about this fire? We've got 1 emergency warning in place and 5 watch and acts.
Yes, we do. The fire took a bit of a run after about 2:30 yesterday afternoon, and that was escalated up to emergency warnings for that area, especially around Gellibrand and Carlisle River. So overnight as well, conditions didn't really calm down too much. So we have had lots of trucks in there trying to protect houses and things overnight. And so people in Melbourne and surrounds will obviously be waking up to quite a lot of smoke in the air.
We have heard people are waking up to a lot of smoke and obviously a lot of concerns. With that particular fire and the community of Gellibrand, has there been any property or homes lost at this stage?
We don't have that information right now. I think at this stage we're still working with communities to try and protect them, but it's still a very active fire down in that area. The conditions are starting to ease off this morning. There were quite strong westerlies with the change that came through yesterday, and so it can be, people who know the southwest can be quite gusty down there, so it has been quite tricky, but we are expecting conditions to calm down this morning, so hopefully we will be able to manage that fire this morning.
So what are you throwing at it to get on top of it?
Oh, well, we have large numbers of aircraft across the state, obviously, but quite a number down on that fire. We have over 50 fire trucks down in that Gellibrand and Carlisle River area supporting communities and protecting those homes. So we're confident in the protection that we have there, but that fire's taking quite a significant run overnight. So we are waiting to hear as crews come off the line from their night shifts, and as we send out new crews this morning, we're waiting to hear about how successful that has been.
And that's not the only fire you're keeping an eye on today. You've got fires across the state.
Yes, we still have a range. We still have 6 active fires. And so we would expect probably with those consistent warm temperatures in the north, that heat warning that I heard in the messaging just a few minutes ago, it is going to stay warm in the north of the state all the way through. It's a 7-day heat wave that we're seeing there. So we are expecting that fire up around Walwa, up towards the border and around Corryong to actually become a bit more active today. So some pretty tricky conditions up there, and firefighters have been working really hard in the milder conditions to manage that fire, but we are expecting it to start to become a bit more active today. But generally, the crew's working really hard ahead of the next really, really warm and troublesome day coming on Tuesday.
So today's going to be a challenge, but Tuesday even more so of a challenge.
Yes, definitely. So we're obviously still sort of running in January, and we have some pretty significant fire weather in Victoria throughout February as well all the time. So it is something we are still asking communities. I know it's already felt like it's been quite a few weeks that we've been running with these fires, but we are expecting them to still run for a number of more weeks.
All right, as we mentioned, we've got 1 emergency warning in place for the Carlisle River and 5 watch and acts. People should monitor conditions and stay across the ABC and, of course, the Vic Emergency app.
Yes, definitely. That's going to be the place where they'll be up to date with information. All of those warnings down in the southwest near the Otways have been all updated in the last hour or so. So we haven't seen a lot of change in those warnings. So it is still, the conditions are still quite tricky, but we do ask people to stay in touch. We also use the text message service emergency alert. If conditions do change significantly, we do send text messages to people's phones in the area as well. So that's another way that we try and prompt people to be across what's happening and to get in touch and monitor conditions in their area and keep in touch with the Vic Emergency app.
It's 9 minutes to 8 here on ABC Victoria. If you've just joined us, Regan Key, the State Control spokesperson, is with us, just updating us on the fire that is the Carlisle River fire, as well as the other fires that are underway across the state. These all started just after that 1st January weekend when we had some weather whip through with lightning.
Yes, we did. We had that really significant day where we had catastrophic conditions across parts of the state, and that across as far as Cowes and San Remo on that eastern side of the bay up into Melbourne. People are waking up around town. They'll certainly smell the smoke this morning, but it's not stretching out as far as the Dandenongs at this point. So if you check there, then you can tell that that's what the smoke is from. You can see if there's any things that are happening near you, any fires or anything that's happening nearby. If you do see flames, then certainly call 000 if it is something that you're concerned about that's nearby. That is the best port of call, but certainly check first because there's a significant amount of smoke in the air.
Regan, we appreciate your time. We'll keep in touch throughout the day.
No problem, thanks.
Regan Key, who is the State Control spokesperson, and we will keep you across all the information that we get to hand. At the moment for the Carlisle River, we have 1 emergency warning and 5 watch and acts. The fire's grown overnight. It's now within a kilometre of Gellibrand, and it may impact homes and lives in the Gellibrand area. So repeating, an emergency warning issue for Carlisle River, Gellibrand, take shelter now. The watch and acts, not safe to return warnings. If you have left Carlisle River, Gellibrand, Barungaruk, Wimba, Beach Forest, Jarangameet, Barungaruk West, Irrawillipie, Carwarren, it is not safe to return. Do not return to your home until a safe to return notification is issued. There are also watch and acts monitor conditions as they're changing alerts for the areas including Irrawillipie, Coram, Yodine, Forest, Burramunga, Charlies Creek and the area south of Carlisle River. An emergency relief centre is at the Colac Showgrounds for domestic or large animals, including horses. Additional information is available at the Colac Otway Performing Arts and Cultural Centre, and that's in Gellibrand Street in Colac. Road closures include Black Bridge Road, Carlisle Road, Tomahawk Creek Road, also the Irrawillipie Road. And you can see maps and more details of the warning areas on the Vic Emergency website. There is a total fire ban for today for the Northern Country, the North East, East Gippsland and North Central. So just to repeat, we have an emergency warning, take shelter now, current for bushfires at Carlisle River near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges. In surrounding areas, there are also watch and act alerts. Keep listening here to ABC Radio Victoria. We'll bring you another update in 30 minutes' time. Just after 8 o'clock, I'll return you now to Australia All Over with Angela Caterns.
February 1 on ABC TV and ABC iView.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
We are bringing you the latest on fires in the west of the state with several warnings issued by Forest Fire Management Victoria. This is for the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges. There is a watch and act not safe to return warning in place. The bushfire is travelling from Carlisle River in a northerly direction towards Barangaruk. There are also watch and act not safe to return warnings for areas including Carlisle River, Gellibrand, Irrawillipie, Barangaruk West and Wimba. If you have left, it is now not safe to return. Do not return to your home until a safe to return notification is issued, and check for watch and act. Monitor conditions and alerts for surrounding areas.
And Alex de Minaur into the quarterfinals of the Australian Tennis Open. Melbourne's weather cloud clearing with a top today of 30. It's currently 17 degrees. More news at 7.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
We are bringing you the latest on fires burning at Carlisle River near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges with warnings from Forest Fire Management Victoria. There is a watch and act not safe to return warning in place. The bushfire is travelling from Carlisle River in a northerly direction towards Barangaruk. There are also watch and act not safe to return warnings for areas including Carlisle River, Barangaruk, Barangaruk West, Gellibrand, Irrawillipie East, Kawarren, Lovat, Wimber. If you have left, it is not safe to return. Do not return to your home until a safe to return notification is issued. And there are also Watch and Act monitor condition alerts for surrounding areas. The next update will be in 1 hour's time. Monitor the Vic Emergency website or app and tune in to your local ABC radio station.
iView.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
We are bringing you the latest on fires burning at Carlisle River near Jellybrand in the Otway Ranges. There is a Watch and Act not safe to return warning in place. The bushfire is travelling from Carlisle River in a northerly direction towards Barangaruk. There are also Watch and Act not safe to return warnings for areas including Carlisle River, Barangaruk West, Jellybrand, Irrawillipi East, Carwarren, Lovat, Wimber. If you have left, it is now not safe to return. Do not return to your home until a safe to return notification has been issued. And there's also a Watch and Act monitor conditions alert for surrounding areas. Head to the Vic Emergency website or app for a full list of warnings and keep listening to your local ABC radio station. The next update will be in 1 hour.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
So across Victoria, and be aware, this radio station today, you're going to be across Victoria for the next hour or two listening to the one radio station. Across Victoria, there are 11 Watch and Act warnings for the three main fires. So we've got the Carlisle River fire in the Otways, the Walwa fire in northeast Victoria, and the Wanagata fire in the east. So starting with the Carlisle River bushfire near Jellybrand in the Otway Ranges, the bushfire is travelling from Carlisle River in a northerly direction towards Barangaruk. There's a Watch and Act not safe to return warning in place for a large area, and that includes Jellybrand. Do not return to your home until a safe to return notification is issued. And of course, the bushfire danger is expected to increase tomorrow. So community members are encouraged to prepare their bushfire survival plan now, and if staying, ensure their property is ready. Heading to the northeast, the large Walwa fire is not yet under control. It has burnt through 113,000 hectares. That's 113,000 hectares. There are continued Watch and Act warnings to leave now, as conditions are expected to worsen in coming days and fire behaviour becomes unpredictable. There is some good news for people in Tom Grogan. The Watch and Act there has been downgraded to an advice, so stay informed on that one. And there's also multiple sources of information, remember. There's also a community meeting at Corryong this morning, so that's in about 15 minutes' time, 10:30, at the Corryong Memorial Hall, which is 1/9 and Hanson Streets. That's a community meeting in Corryong. Let's move our attention now to the Alpine region. So you've got the Dargo complex in Wanagata. That is not yet under control. There are Watch and Act warnings in place to monitor the conditions. Look, if you want to know any more info, keep listening to us here on ABC Radio. We'll try to bring it to you as soon as things change. Don't forget, there's a Vic Emergency website. There is a Vic Emergency app. They have a full list of all of these warnings. Maybe if you've got time, make sure you've got either a fully charged phone or a battery-operated radio you can turn to, and we'll bring you another update in just over an hour.
And Geronimo, now it's time for an emergency bushfire warning.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
And Julie Cliff from ABC's emergency broadcast team joins us. Hi, Julie.
Hey, g'day there, Bridge. Yeah, quite a bit of information to bring you. So just, settle in for a moment and get ready to listen to quite a lot of places. There's been some information that's changed, particularly around the Otway. So wanting to bring people in the Otways that important information, and for the whole state now, a total fire ban declared for tomorrow. So a bit of information to bring you. So first, let's go to the Carlisle River bushfire near Jellybrand in the Otway Ranges. So due to the extreme weather forecast for tomorrow, the fire is predicted to rapidly expand and pose a threat to nearby areas. So because of that, a large number of areas have been placed under Watch and Act warnings to prepare to evacuate. So on the Vic Emergency website, those areas have been split up into 4 quadrants. And I'm going to read all of those places just so people can get a sense of the areas we're talking about. But there is, as I said, a long list of names. So in the northwest quadrant, these places, so the places that have got that warning, prepare to evacuate, are Barongarook, Barongarook East, Barongarook West, Beach Forest, Carlisle River, Coram, Elamnite, Gellibrand, Durangameet, Irrawilpy, Irrawilpy East, Carwarren, Larpent, Lovett, Tallow, Wimber and Yeo. Now in the southwest quadrant, the message for these people, again, is prepare to evacuate. This includes Beach Forest, Carlisle River, Charlies Creek, Dinmont, Ferguson, Kincaid, Pulse Siding, Weaprina and Wallangatta. In the northeast and southeast quadrants, the evacuation warning includes Barangarook, Barwon Downs, Benweren, Forest, Durangameet, Carwarren, Maroon, Yorta, Yodine. It also includes Barramunga, Barwon Downs, Mount Sabine, Alangala East, Tanbrian and Upper Gellibrand. Now for all of those areas that I've just mentioned, it's strongly recommended that you evacuate before sunset tonight. So that's what Vic Emergency is letting us know. Police and SES, they're door knocking in the area, but they've said they cannot reach every property, so don't wait for the police. The message is to leave today. Now the safest evacuation route that we're being told is Birregurra Forest Road and Forest Apollo Bay Road towards Colac. So just repeat that. They're saying that the safest evacuation route is Birregurra Forest Road and Forest Apollo Bay Road towards Colac. There are already a large number of road closures and these may change. So check the Vic Traffic website and drive cautiously. And there are just so many road closures. It's very difficult to go through all of them. But again, go to the Vic Emergency website. There's a long list there and there's also traffic management points in the area as well, so be aware of that. Now there are relief centres available at Colac Showgrounds, Colac Bluewater Fitness and Grovedale Community Hub. Now there are separate Watch and Act warnings to monitor the conditions for the west of the fireground at Carlisle Road and Irrawilpy, Irrawilpy East and Tomahawk Creek. So quite a bit going on there in that Otways fire. And now a new Watch and Act monitor conditions is in place, stretching down to Lavers Hill and the coast at Skeens Creek and goes as far east as Anglesea. So that's Watch and Act monitor conditions for those people. So that's where things are at now for the Otways, the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand. I'll move on to what's happening across the rest of the State Bridge. In the northeast, the Walwa fire is not under control and there's still 7 Watch and Act warnings in place for that. Now they include Watch and Act leave now for people in the Reel Valley, including McNamara Crossing, Stacey's Bridge and surrounds. You should leave in a northerly direction towards Corryong. In the Alpine region, the Dargo complex fire in Wanangatta, that's not yet under control, and there are Watch and Act warnings to monitor conditions in place for that area as well. And finally, what's just come in is that the CFA have declared a total fire ban for the whole state of Victoria tomorrow. So no fires can be lit in the open area tomorrow, and the ban remains in effect until midnight. So it starts at midnight tonight and remains in place until midnight. So just to sort of give a quick recap, for the Carlisle River fire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges, there's now 4 Watch and Act warnings to prepare to evacuate. For the Walwa and Dargo Wanangatta fires, there continues to be Watch and Act warnings in place. And now, as you just heard, a total fire ban has been declared statewide tomorrow. So for further information, and the full list of the warnings, you can head to the Vic Emergency website and keep listening to ABC Radio Melbourne. We'll bring you another update in half an hour at about 1:15.
I think we should go to Jenny. No, not Jenny, Julie.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Yes, and thank you, Julie Cliff from the ABC Emergency Broadcast team. Julie, what's the latest?
Yeah, slight change of pace from Chris Bridge, but there's quite a bit of information that we do need to get to, and it is important. So wanted to bring you the latest on the fires burning across the state, including evacuation warnings for the Otways. Now, this is information that came in just before 12 o'clock, so people still hearing it perhaps for the first time. So what do you need to know? Well, for the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges, with tomorrow's extreme weather forecast, the fire is predicted to spread rapidly and threaten nearby areas. Now, a large number of areas have been placed under Watch and Act warnings, prepare to evacuate. On the Vic Emergency website, they've been split up into 4 quadrants. Now, the prepare to evacuate warning, they apply to an area, it's quite a big area, so let me just go through the area for you. It's surrounded by Barongarook West and runs east to Yodine and Maroon, south down to Mount Sabine, then back west to Wailangta and Carlisle River, and back north past Irrawilpi and Irrawilpi East. So that gives you the broad sense of how big it is. It also includes Barongarook, Carwarren, Forest, Gellibrand and other areas. Now, so for all of those areas, it's strongly recommended that you evacuate before sunset today. And the advice is that the safest evacuation route is Birregurra Forest Road and Forest Apollo Bay Road towards Colac. There are already many closed roads and these may change, so you need to check the Vic Traffic website and drive cautiously. Now, there are relief centres available. There's 3 of them. There's one at the Colac Showgrounds, Colac Blue Water Fitness and Grovedale Community Hub. Now, the Showground Centre is the only one that can accommodate large animals, including horses. So if you do have large animals, you have horses, don't head to the others, head to the Colac Showgrounds where you will be able to be accommodated with your animals. Now, there are then separate watch and act warnings to monitor conditions. That's in place to the west of the fireground at Carlisle Road and Irrawilpi East and Tomahawk Creek. There's also another watch and act monitor conditions stretching further south and east. Now, this goes down to Lavers Hill and to the coast at Skeens Creek and as far east as Anglesey, and that's a new one that's in today. So quite a bit happening there in the Otway Ranges. But let's move on because that's not the only fire in the state. In the northeast, the Walwa fire, which has been burning now for a number of weeks, it's still not under control. And there are 7 watch and act warnings in place. Now, these include a watch and act leave now for people in Nareel Valley, including McNamara Crossing, Stacey's Bridge and surrounds. You're being asked to leave in a northerly direction towards Corryong. In the Alpine region, the Dargo Complex fire in Wonnangatta, it's not yet under control, and there are watch and act warnings to monitor conditions in place for people in that area. Now, finally, the CFA have declared a total fire ban for the whole state of Victoria tomorrow, as we have been talking about those very hot temperatures expected tomorrow, over 40 for the majority of the state. So from midnight tonight, no fires can be lit in the open air, and that ban remains in effect until midnight. So just to sort of recap, for the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges, there's now 4 watch and act warnings to prepare to evacuate. For the Walwa and Dargo Wonnangatta fires, there continues to be a watch and act warning in place for those areas. And as you heard, a total fire ban has been declared statewide tomorrow. So for more information, you can head to the Vic Emergency website or app for a full list of warnings, and keep listening to ABC Radio Melbourne, where I know, Bridge, you're going to check in with the State Control Centre just after 1:30 or around the 1:30 mark, so people will hear the latest information from them.
During a heatwave, act quickly if you or someone you know starts to feel sick. Signs of heat stress include headaches, dry mouth and eyes, shortness of breath, nausea and vomiting. Symptoms of heat stroke include fast, shallow breathing, slurred speech, changes in behaviour and a rise in body temperature. If you or others are suffering from a heat-related illness, contact 000 immediately. ABC Radio, your emergency broadcaster.
Our emergency broadcast coordinator.
ABC Radio, emergency information.
And Julie, you have some updates?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Bridge. Look, nothing much has actually changed in the last half hour since I joined you, but quite a bit of information came through just before midday today. So there could be some people across the Otways who haven't yet heard these warnings. So I do want to bring you the latest. So what do you need to know? Well, first we'll head to the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges. With tomorrow's extreme weather forecast, I know you've been talking about that this afternoon, Bridge, the fire is predicted to spread rapidly and threaten nearby areas. So a large number of areas have been placed under watch and act warnings. Now, these are prepare to evacuate warnings. On the Vic Emergency website, they've been split into 4 quadrants. It's quite a large area, but the warning applies to an area which is surrounded by Barongarook West Barongarook West, and then runs east to Yodine and Maroon, south down to Mount Sabine, then back west to Wailangta and Carlisle River, and back north past to Irrawilpi and Irrawilpi East. Now, it does include Barongarook, Carwarren, Forest, Gellibrand and other areas. So for all of those areas, it's strongly recommended that you evacuate before sunset today. So that doesn't leave too long to get yourself organised. So really make sure you're heeding these messages. Prepare to evacuate before sunset today. Now, the safest evacuation route that we're being told is Birregurra Forest Road and Forest Apollo Bay Road towards Colac. And there have already been many closed roads, and these roads may be changing. So check the Vic Traffic website and do drive cautiously as you do make your way through. Relief centres are available, and there's 3 of them altogether. There's one at Colac Showgrounds, one at the Colac Blue Water Fitness, and the Grovedale Community Hub. But important to note that the Showground Centre is the only one that can accommodate large animals, including horses. So if you do have any large animals, you need to head to the Colac Showgrounds. If you do have other smaller animals, you can go to those other community relief centres. Now, there's also a separate watch and act warning to monitor conditions. Now, that's in place for west of the fireground at Carlisle Road and Irrawillipy, and also Irrawillipy East and Tomahawk Creek. There's also a further watch and act monitor conditions. Now, this is stretching further south and east down to Lavers Hill and the coast of Skeens Creek and as far east as Anglesey. And that's a new one today. So people in those areas getting that message for the first time today to watch and act and monitor conditions. Let's move on to other parts of the state, Bridge, because there are fires burning across other parts of the state, including the northeast. That Walwa fire, now that's been burning for a good couple of weeks. It's still not under control. And there are 7 watch and act warnings in place. Now, they include a watch and act leave now for people in the Reel Valley, and that includes McNamara Crossing, Stacey's Bridge and surrounds. You need to leave in a northerly direction towards Corryong. In the Alpine region, there is that Dargo complex fire in Wonnangatta that's not yet under control, and there are watch and act warnings to monitor conditions in place for that area. And finally, the CFA has now declared a total fire ban for the whole state of Victoria tomorrow. Probably people aren't surprised to hear that, hearing the temperatures we're expecting across the state. But just to confirm, that is official now. The CFA have declared a total fire ban. What does that mean? Well, it means from tonight at midnight, no fires can be lit in the open air through the whole day, and the ban remains in effect until midnight tomorrow night. So from midnight tonight until midnight tomorrow, no fires can be lit in the open air, with that total fire ban being declared for the whole state. So just to give you a bit of a summary there, Bridge, for the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges, there's now 4 watch and act warnings to prepare to evacuate. For the Walwa and Dargo Wonnangatta fires, there continues to be watch and act warnings in place, and as I mentioned, a total fire ban has been declared statewide tomorrow. For more information, because there's a lot to get your head around, you can head to the Vic Emergency website or app for a full list of the warnings. Also keep listening to ABC Radio Melbourne and Victoria. We'll bring you another update in around half an hour, about 2:45.
State Control Centre, and we'll get the latest on the fires.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Yes, for tomorrow's expected temperatures, they are expected to get over 40 degrees. There's a total fire ban, high to extreme fire danger. That's not good news for the fires already burning. And there's been an escalation today in warnings for the Otways, with residents asked to evacuate immediately or told to prepare to evacuate. Regan Key is a spokesperson for the State Control Centre. She joins you to give you the latest. Regan, hello.
Hello, Ellie. How are you?
I'm good. Look, let's start with that Carlisle River fire in the Otways, which is the main fire of concern. We've got 4 new watch and act prepare to evacuate warnings. 2 of those have now escalated to evacuate immediately.
Yeah, that's correct. So we're asking communities today really to leave those areas before those fire conditions become very dangerous tomorrow. When we had that fire take a run on Saturday afternoon and into Saturday night in the outskirts of Gellibrand, there were really dangerous fire conditions for firefighters, and we're really concerned about that fire in the very warm and windy weather coming tomorrow.
So the evacuate immediately warnings, which areas are those for?
Yeah, there's 2 key areas on the map at the moment. All 4 of those areas are likely to move to evacuate immediately, but the bottom 2 areas that are around Upper Gellibrand, Barwon Downs, as well as Beach Forest and Charlie's Creek, those sorts of areas south of where the fire is at the moment, they're the first ones that we've asked communities to evacuate immediately. That is about the access and egress and how Victoria Police are actually managing this evacuation. So over 1,000 properties are being door knocked today with SES volunteers supporting to let those communities know about the concerns we have about that fire and how we want them to evacuate before sunset and where to head. So those lower two are about how we want people to leave those areas, and then the upper two, we will issue updated evacuate immediately warnings to those upper two areas in the coming hours.
And even though, as you said, there's door knocking going on, don't wait is the message?
Correct. It is something that once you're ready to leave, definitely leave. We have lots of community members in there with farms and other things, so it does take time to prepare to leave. We know that. That's why we have put those messages out earlier today, and then we are transitioning them to those evacuate immediately ones. We do want people to leave before sunset today.
And there are relief centres open for people to go to?
There are, there's 3 for that fire now. So there's sort of 2 locations in Colac, one at the showgrounds and the other one at the Blue Water Fitness Centre. So the showgrounds is obviously taking animals, horses and pets, those sorts of things, whereas the local pool is not looking for animals to come and visit today. But the other one is in Geelong at the Grovedale Community Hub. So lots of opportunities there in different places to go depending on which directions people are heading. But equally, we encourage people to go to family and friends and places where they feel more comfortable themselves too, because relief centres, obviously, we can give them food and water and support. Sometimes there's support in accommodation. It's pretty busy down there on the Surf Coast at this time of year, so we are looking at how we support people with accommodation. But if they can go to friends and family, they'll be more comfortable and they'll be safe and away from this fire.
Regan, let's move to the northeast to another big fire that's been burning for a number of weeks. That's the Walwa fire. What's the latest there?
Yeah, the Walwa fire is still quite active on that southern edge. So we have had crews dropping into that fire, so what we call rappel crews that drop in from helicopters. Our New Zealand friends are part of those crews and they've come to help us in the last few weeks. And so they're actually going in and dropping areas so that they can fight these fires from the quite difficult landscape in the middle of that fire. We've also had crews burning out, so lighting fires around the edges to try and burn back towards the fire that's burning towards them to get rid of all the fuel that's ahead of that fire in the hope to be able to hold that fire with those really difficult conditions today, even with the heat, but the winds and the changes expected over the coming days, even in the north.
So what do you want people in that area to know?
Yeah, most of those messages are about monitoring conditions because they can change really quickly. That fire's still quite active. We do have consistent messages about leaving and not coming back at this point, not safe to return, because especially with those warm conditions tomorrow and the significant fire risk, we are hoping to be able to hold that fire tomorrow, but as we saw with the Carlisle River fire on the weekend, it can get very dynamic very quickly.
You're listening to Regan Key from the State Control Centre, just bringing you an update on the fires this Monday afternoon. The final one that we've not yet talked about, Regan, is the Dargo Wonnangatta fire. That's also continuing to burn. What's the latest there?
It is, yeah. It's quite similar in the sense to the work that we're doing because of the difficult country that it's in. That's similar to that Walwa fire up around Corryong. So because it's up in the Alpine National Park and coming down south towards Dargo there, it is really difficult terrain. So again, dropping crews in out of helicopters. We have a lot of bulldozers and other things creating lines to try and manage that fire. You can actually see on Vic Emergency, if you turn on the filter that gives you the impact areas and you zoom in, you can see little funny squiggly lines that lead out to the side that are actually the crews back burning, and they're being recorded about where that burn place is. Now, they're not the only pieces of work we're doing, but they are strategic areas that allows the fire to burn down towards that line and hopefully doesn't cross it when we have significant conditions like tomorrow.
Yeah, like tomorrow. And there is a total fire ban across the state tomorrow.
There is, correct. Yeah, we're really encouraging people to heed that total fire ban, and the main points of the total fire ban is to not put more fire into the landscape. And so it was disappointing. I was talking to RAF this morning where we had on Saturday 20 or 30 fires start from campfires, bonfires, people mowing lawns using chainsaws, things that on a day of total fire ban, we really don't need people doing. So really encouraging people to listen to that, understand what that means on a day of total fire ban and what they can and can't do. The CFA website has really good information about what you can and can't do on those days, so encourage people to be across that.
And Regan, if common sense does not prevail, maybe a bit of a acknowledgement of the stick, because if you are found guilty of lighting a fire, it is a significant penalty.
It is. That's very correct. It's something that if you light the fire, you really do own the fire. And so we have had people in trouble in the past, and I know that's something that Victoria Police do come down pretty hard on. And the CFA are really encouraging people to just understand what the rules are for a total fire ban and when there's better days to do that sort of work.
Thanks so much for bringing us up to date.
No problem. Thanks, Ellie.
Regan Key there from the State Control Centre.
Talking to a remarkable weightlifter. But let's find out what is happening to those fire situations.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Yes, bringing you the latest bushfire warnings from Forest Fire Management Victoria. Now, for the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges, there are now 4 Watch and Act Evacuate Immediately warnings in place. So you've been hearing about the other Evacuate Immediately warnings, so I'll just bring you the information that's changed in the last half an hour. So for the southwest of the warning area, people in the following areas are being advised to evacuate immediately. That's the Air Valley, Beach Forest, Carlisle River, Chapel Vale, Charlie's Creek, Crows, Dinmont, Ferguson, Gellibrand, Glenayre, Johanna, Kawarren, Kincaid, Lavers Hill, Pyle Siding, Simpson, Weeparana and Wailangla. There remains 3 other Evacuate Immediately Watch and Act warnings for an area in the northwest that includes Barongarook. For the northeast, that includes, Jaringamate, and for the southwest, that includes Mount Sabine. So check the Vic Traffic website to stay across the many road closures in that region. Relief centres are available at Colac Showgrounds, Colac Blue Water Fitness and at Grovedale Community Hub, keeping in mind the Showgrounds is the only one of those 3 that accommodates large animals, including horses. Further south and east, Watch and Act monitor conditions in the area down to Lavers Hill and the coast at Skeens Creek and as far as Anglesea. In the northeast of the state, the Walwa fire is not under control. There are still 7 Watch and Act warnings in place in that part of Victoria. And in the high country, the Dargo Complex fire in Wonnangata, there is a Watch and Act monitor conditions. Fire is not under control for that precinct. Finally, the CFA has declared a total fire ban for the whole state of Victoria tomorrow. And to recap, for the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges, there are Watch and Act warnings, including Evacuate Immediately. Also in the Walwa and Dargo Wonnangata fires, there's Watch and Act warnings that are active in both those areas, and a total fire ban that's been declared statewide. Head to the Vic Emergency website or the app for the full list of warnings and keep listening to ABC Radio Victoria, and we'll bring you another update in about half an hour. It's 9:11. Shortly we'll be crossing to Dr. Rob Gordon, talking about how best to cope mentally as well as preparedly for fires. But let's find out what's happening across those fire grounds now.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Bringing you the latest bushfire warnings from Forest Fire Management Victoria. For the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges, there are now 4 Watch and Act Evacuate Immediately warnings that are active. You should evacuate now if you are within the 4 Watch and Act areas, which stretch from Barongarook west in the north and Mount Macaulay in the east, Haynes Junction and Lavers Hill in the south, and Chapel Vale in the west. If you're in any doubt about the warning areas, please head to the Vic Emergency app, the website or the app, for a detailed map of that fire ground. Check the Vic Traffic website as well to stay across the many road closures that are affecting that region. Relief centres are available and remain open at Colac Showgrounds, the Colac Blue Water Fitness and at Grovedale Community Hub. And keep in mind the Showgrounds is the only one of those 3 that can accommodate large animals, including horses. Further south and east, Watch and Act monitor conditions in the area down to Lavers Hill and the coast at Skeens Creek. and as far east as Anglesea. So for communities around the perimeter of the Carlisle River and the Kennedy's Creek fire, that also applies to you. That's the Watch and Act Monitor Conditions warning. In the northeast of Victoria, the Walwa fire, that's the Mount Lawson fire, which we've been describing for the last few weeks now. Still 7 Watch and Act warnings in place for that area. And in the Alpine region, the Dargo Complex fire in Wonnangata, up there in the high country of the Victorian Alps, Watch and Act Monitor Conditions fire is not yet under control. Finally, the CFA has declared a total fire ban for the whole state of Victoria tomorrow, Tuesday, and that ban remains in effect until midnight tomorrow, and the full restrictions are on the CFA website, keeping in mind that also applies to machinery that generates sparks. So if you've got any doubt, head to the CFA website for full details of the fire ban. So to recap, for the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges, there are Watch and Act warnings, including evacuate immediately. Then you've got the Walwa and Dargo Wonnangata fires. There are Watch and Act warnings active in those fire systems. And a total fire ban has been declared statewide tomorrow. That's for Tuesday, January 27. Head to the Vic Emergency website or the app for a full list of warnings, and keep listening to ABC Radio Victoria, your emergency broadcaster. We'll bring you the next update in an hour at 10:15 p.m.
30.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
For the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otways, there are now 4 Watch and Act Evacuate Immediately warnings in place. You should evacuate now if you are within the 4 Watch and Act areas, which stretch from Barongarook West in the north, Mount Macaulay in the east, Haynes Junction and Lavers Hill in the south, and Chapel Vale in the west. Head to the Vic Emergency app or website for a detailed map, and check the Vic Traffic website to stay across the many road closures. There are now also Watch and Act Monitor Condition warnings for the surrounding areas, down to Lavers Hill and the coast at Skeens Creek, and as far as east to Anglesea. Also for communities around the perimeter of the Carlisle River and Kennedy's Creek fire. Relief centres are also now open at the Colac Showgrounds, Colac Blue Water Fitness and at Grovedale Community Hub. The Showgrounds Centre is the only one that can accommodate large animals, including horses. And the CFA has declared a total fire ban for the whole state of Victoria today. The ban remains in effect until midnight, and the full restrictions are listed on the CFA website. To recap, for the Carlisle River bushfire near Gellibrand in the Otway Ranges, there are now 4 Watch and Act warnings to evacuate immediately. And please don't forget, a total fire ban has been declared statewide for all of today.